Welcome to the Superbloom Healing Podcast. I'm Alicia, your fellow dreamer and guide on this path of healing. This podcast is our sanctuary, a place where sensitive souls, seekers, and those navigating their awakening can come to recharge and feel supported. You'll find tips and tools to help you on your healing journey. Let's go inward and discover the magic inside of us. Well, hello. Welcome back to the Superbloom Healing Podcast. I am just so excited to be here. I can't believe it's been over a year, almost 2 years, since season 2 of the podcast. I think there were 3 episodes, maybe? So sorry about that. Some women get pregnant and they do the most because they're like, I have to fit everything in before I have this baby. And I was like, I may never rest again after I have this baby, so I'm just gonna rest now. And I was so tired. I feel like most of my pregnancy, I was just so tired. That was my main symptom. So anyway, a lot of stuff got put on the back burner, got put on hold creatively and business-wise. And I really wasn't sure when I would be back or in what capacity. And so I didn't try to make any promises in terms of that. But now here I am. And we're back, baby. So I do just want to say to start off, Superbloom Healing will absolutely remain for people going through awakening, and whether that's your first awakening, second, third, wherever you are in your spiritual evolution, it is for you. It's about energetics, it's about maintenance, it's about upgrades, it's about ascension and groundedness and what it looks like to be a spiritual being living in a human body. However, motherhood changes you in such a way that I could not fathom until I became one. And people always say that, and it used to make me so mad. You'll never be able to understand until you're actually a mother. Unfortunately, they were right. So there are aspects of my life that are just changed. It's inevitable that some of that will seep into my teaching, into what I'm doing, and be part of this. And so I just want to make you aware of that. I'm actually working on a motherhood energetics course that is going to be launching very soon. And I'm so excited about it. There's nothing else out there like that I've seen. It's for new moms specifically, or moms of younger children and babies who want to work with their baby's energy, want to understand their baby from an energetic perspective, and also for their own energetic maintenance as a parent, as a mother. So I'm really excited about that, and that is going to be out in the world. And at the same time, there's still a whole giant part of Superbloom Healing that is not anything about parenthood or motherhood. So there is a little bit of something for everyone here. But I did just want to have that disclaimer of like, this is just part of my life now, and it is a giant portion of my life. And so especially in the first few years, there's going to be a lot of talk about motherhood and parenthood and that kind of stuff. I also just want to say a thank you to those of you that are new subscribers, new listeners, new clients since having Owen. It's been really fun to see how Superbloom Healing has evolved even in the last 2 years while I have been evolving as a person as well, and much more internal and much more mommy brained than I used to be. So it's truly a pleasure, and I am so grateful to get to work with those of you that are new in this season of my life. And so thank you for subscribing. Thank you for joining the membership. Thank you for listening to all of the meditations and downloads and everything. It really means a lot to have you in this world and trusting me with your energy. Every day I'm so thankful and honored that I get to be a part of your journey, a little small part of it. So I am for this episode just going to talk a little bit about what my experience has been and what I've been doing the last couple of years. And then next week we will talk more about energetic topics and that kind of thing that you were used to. So if this doesn't interest you, no problem at all. But I hope you'll stick around and listen just because it'll help you get to know me a little bit more. And I just think that especially in the world right now with AI taking over the creator space in a lot of ways, that authenticity and just this back and forth that we get to have where we actually build relationships with each other, I think is so, so valuable. And so I want you to know me, and I want to know you guys too. So please send me comments, send me DMs. I want to know my community, and I want you to know me as well. I think it's really valuable and really important to also know the person that is working in your energy. Just so much more valuable than I think we even talk about sometimes. The amount of people that I've seen just open up their energy to any random healer is quite frightening. And I don't want that for you. I want you to know that I'm pure-hearted, that I have integrity, and that I care about you, and that I'm authentic, and all these things. So anyway, that's a soapbox I can talk about another day. So I guess I'm just going to go back to the beginning and talk about my pregnancy and my birth story and all of that, because wow, it just changes you. It really does. When I found out I was pregnant, we weren't necessarily trying to have Owen. We were not trying, but we weren't actively trying to have a baby. And always, I really had just kind of said, I think I want to be a mom. And if the time is right and a baby wants to come to me, then I am open and receptive. And if not, then that's not my story and not my journey. And that's okay too. And so when I found out I was pregnant, it was quite a bit surreal because it hadn't been something I had been planning and thinking about and dreaming about for a long time. It was just something I was very receptive and open to and knew that it would probably happen one day. So that moment of finding out I was pregnant was really surreal for me. I actually found out by myself. I waited until Blair was at work, my husband. And it was kind of a funny day because it was right around Christmas. And at the time he was working as a bartender and he had a long double shift at work. And I had been thinking for a couple of days that maybe I was pregnant. There were a few things going on. Mainly I was exhausted and also eating everything in sight. But the main thing that indicated to me that I might be pregnant was that I had a very strange dream a few nights before I took a test. And I'm not actually going to go into the details of the dream. I feel that it's really special and I want to keep it to myself. But essentially in the dream, I knew that I was pregnant. And I woke up from the dream and I was laying in bed and I started imagining what it would be like to tell our families at Christmas that we were pregnant. This was in that twilight zone before you're like awake and before you're fully awake and yet you are conscious that you're asleep in your bed. And I just kept imagining it and envisioning it and thinking about what it would be like. And then I opened my eyes that day and I was like, I think I'm pregnant. I think I need to take a test. And so I dropped Blair off at work. I went to Walmart to get a test. And of course, at the time, I've always generally, I feel like I don't look as much this way now because of being a mom, but before I generally read pretty young. I feel like people think I'm a lot younger than I am or used to think that. And so when I went to Walmart, for some reason, I had my hair in two French braids. And I had one of those like leisure sweatsuits on that was purple and just like, I definitely looked very much more Gen Z than millennial. And possibly looked like I was a teenager going to get a pregnancy test. And of course, at the Walmart that is by my house, it's a little bit shady and they had all the pregnancy tests locked up. So I had to like ask someone to unlock them. And I had actually never taken a pregnancy test before. There was never a time in my life where I thought I might be pregnant, or at least not this seriously. So I'm standing there with this older woman who unlocks the case for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's 100 choices. I'm like, I don't even know which one to pick. And I feel pressured because she definitely thinks I'm teen mom over here and is for sure judging me. And I picked one up and I was like, I guess maybe I'll get two. I said that out loud. And she's like, mm-hmm. And I was like, oh no. So I went home and took the test right away, was pregnant. There was no question. It said pregnant. The line was very pregnant. And it's actually just one of my favorite moments. I remember looking in the mirror and going, I feel complete. There's something about this that feels so right and so purposeful and just like meant to be biologically. and spiritually and all that stuff, of course. But from a biological standpoint, I just felt like this is my purpose. I feel right. I feel complete. And so I cried and I was so excited, and I had to then endure the entire day while Blair worked a double shift trying to figure out how I was going to tell him and everything. So I ended up wrapping the pregnancy test up in a little present, and I told him when he got home that night. Of course, it was like the most stressful day at work that you could ever have. So when he came home, he was like kind of in a weird mood. And anyway, so I gave him the gift, and I was like, here's an early Christmas present. Hope you're excited about it. And of course, he cried. It was a very sweet moment, and it was lovely. And then we sort of freaked out. Oh my gosh, this is real. And the crazy part about it was we had just moved into a new house, our first house as homeowners. So we bought a house, and I think we moved into it. I think we lived here for a week before I found out I was pregnant, or before I got pregnant. So that's also crazy. We were in the middle of moving, and we had all of this just stuff to do, housework and painting and that kind of stuff that we wanted to finish up. But of course, I was very tired. So a lot of that we're now finishing. And then fast forward, my pregnancy was pretty easy, really. The hardest thing was just the extra weight on your body is wild to do things. I feel like I was really impacted by that physically. And I also had this hip pain that was unfortunate from the very beginning. Shout out to my chiropractor at Lotus of Life, because she really helped with that throughout the experience. As far as like nausea, anything like that, I totally escaped all of that and just was exhausted. So overall, the pregnancy was pretty great. And then about a month before my due date, we went to a home birthing class. I had decided, I knew from the beginning I was going to have a home birth. I just felt that it was the most holistic option and the best option for me to really get the experience that I wanted, the time with my baby that I wanted, the time with my family that I wanted, and just the comfortability of being in your own home. And looking back, I'm so grateful that I chose that. So anyway, a month before my due date, we went to a home birthing class, and they basically walk you through all the different stages of labor and how everything is going to go, supposedly, and what to do in each stage and phase. And there were other women there that were as far along as I was, or within a week or two. And I'm looking around going like, I am so much more pregnant than any of these women. I feel giant compared to these women. There was one woman you couldn't even tell she was pregnant, which is just so crazy. It just shows how different all of our bodies are. And I always say it's probably because I have a really short waist. My legs take up most of my height, and my waist is this big. So he didn't have a lot of room in there. So it was like he was really protruding. We went to this home birthing class, and 2 days later, my water broke. And this was a month before his due date. And my midwives, thankfully, at 36 weeks, they allow you to give birth at home. A lot of midwives do not allow you to give birth at home before 37 weeks. So I'm also very grateful that I was with the midwives that I was with. And so I was laying in bed. Blair had just gotten home from work. I was watching Curb Your Enthusiasm and about to go to sleep, really. And I kind of rolled over and I heard a pop. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was really crazy. Is something wrong? And then I was like, oh, maybe that was my water breaking. So I didn't feel any water. And so I was like, I'm going to stand up and see what happens. I'm going to go to the bathroom. So I stood up, I walked into the bathroom, and immediately it just gushed out. And I was like, oh, it's happening. So I called Blair. He was outside, just sitting on the porch. And I called him and I was like, my water just broke. And he's like, are you serious? Yep. What should we do? And the funny thing is, we hadn't even had our home visit yet with our midwife. It was supposed to be the next day. So we didn't have any of our materials. And I think we had planned on going to get the materials the next day before the home visit. So we were going to get the towels and just you need shower curtains and stuff to catch all of the fluids and blood and stuff. So we didn't have any of that. We did have our home birthing kit, which was the tub for a water birth that I wanted to have. And yet we did not have any of the attachments for the hose or anything like that to set that up, unfortunately. So we were debating if Blair should go to the store and if he should get that stuff or if he should stay with me. And I was like, I kind of feel weird about you leaving right now. So anyway, we texted my doula, who, shout out to her, it's my cousin. She's amazing. And we texted her and she was like, just try to get as much rest as you can. Because they always say if you go into labor at the beginning of the night or in the middle of the night, you should try to go back to sleep so that you can rest to have endurance for the long, laborious process you're about to go through. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to try to get some rest, go back to bed. So I went to bed, I laid down for maybe 30 minutes and I was like, this is getting intense. There's no way I can sleep right now. And I'm like, I feel like this is happening a lot faster than I had planned for or than I was expecting. And so I texted my doula again. She's like, well, just start timing your contractions just to see where you're at. And I think they were 3 minutes apart, maybe 5. Oh gosh, I can't remember. I think they were at first 5 minutes apart when I first texted her. And then very quickly after, they were 3 minutes apart. So she was like, all right, I'm coming now. And she and my mom and my midwives all were coming from an hour away. So they all got in the car, my mom and my cousin, my doula, and came right away. And then when she got here, she was like, oh, we need to call your midwives. This is progressing rapidly. And my midwives got there probably around 3. So all of this started at midnight and they got there around 3, I think. And I completely missed early labor. The early labor chat where you go for a walk and you eat a meal and you take a nap and all that stuff that they had prepared me for in the home birthing class, none of that happened. I was immediately in active labor. And luckily I had an amazing support team who knew that and knew what they were doing and also let me have the experience that I wanted to have. I really wanted to move around. I moved around a lot. I made a lot of noise. There was a lot of sound happening. And I just felt like I could do it because I was in my own home. It was my own space. I knew where to go, where I felt comfortable. And even though we weren't set up and we weren't prepared, I already was at home. I already was safe. And one of the most important things I learned, I actually did the hypnobirthing, or I read the hypnobirthing book and a few other books, and I really liked it. And one of the most important things that they talk about is how if your body does not feel safe, you cannot open. You are going through this transformational state that truly is an energetic portal. And the state that you go into is like a psychedelic state. And so if you think about, if any of you have ever done psychedelics or really any kind of drug in any way, there is a big difference in that experience if you are in a safe environment that you know, or where you're safe, or you have people around you where you're safe, versus a completely new environment or an environment that feels like you're being watched or feels very sterile or whatever. And so I think that is why I really wanted a home birth so badly, because I knew how important that would be to me. I'm so impacted by the people around me and my environment. And it really was so important for my process. And I think it's a huge reason why I did progress so quickly, because of the work that I had done in preparation, both mentally, physically, and energetically, but also because at the time of birth, I felt so safe. I felt so cared for. I felt so loved. I felt so supported. And also, I felt like I was in charge. I felt like I was the one really giving birth and making the choices for me and my baby. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful I did it that way. And I highly recommend it to anybody who's considering it that is fearful. I just think it's one of the best choices you can make if you are healthy and have a great team behind you. And they always talk about they will send you to the hospital if you need medical care. Absolutely. And that's the thing I think people don't realize about a home birth is like, if you have a good team, they're not going to risk it. They're going to send you if there is any kind of chance that something might go wrong and you need medical care. But if you are healthy and you are capable, they're going to do what they can to help you have that baby right there in your home. So Owen was born at 5:54 on July 23rd, 4 weeks before his due date, the first day of Leo. And I will say that the clock actually did say 5:55, but we're not trying to get like all spiritual on it. The phone said 5:54, so whatever. 5:54 is what it says on his birth certificate. And it was really so interesting to me because everybody has such a different experience, like spiritually and mentally and emotionally, I feel like, when they give birth. And to me, I was just sort of in a very shocked state. I think because it happened so fast, I didn't have a lot of mental processing happening or emotional processing. I was really just locked into my physical body and listening to my body and breathing with my body. And so when he came out, I was just kind of like, okay, and here he is. And I felt like the emotions came later and the mental processing came later, but it was very much like, okay, my baby's here and now we're going to go lay down and now we're going to, cuddle and all the things that you do after. It was wonderful. It was amazing. I don't know. It was the best. It's the best to have a baby. It's the best. And yeah, so we got to cuddle and we got to just like lay in bed and we had family come to visit. And one of my favorite memories, actually, because he was born so early and people were not expecting it, was that we called the majority of our family and close friends via FaceTime. And we just held the phone up to Owen so that he would be in frame when they answered. And it was just so fun. I love surprising people, and it was so fun to see people's reactions, whether they cried or they were just so excited. It's just one of my favorite memories from the whole experience. It was just the best. It was so fun. And then we dove deep into motherhood and parenthood, and it has been such a fun journey, and he's almost a year old now. As I'm recording this, by the time this comes out, he will probably already be a year old, which is wild and crazy. There are just so many amazing things about being a parent. Of course, seeing your spouse and yourself in your child is so fun. I feel like Owen is a really solid mix of both of us, both physically and energetically, emotionally, and personality-wise. And so that's really fun to watch and experience and be like, oh, that's kind of like me, that's kind of like you, and yet he's his own person too at the same time. And it's so fun to watch them unfold into who they are and who they're going to be. And of course, reading their gene keys and their human design and seeing if it's accurate is always really fun for me too. And shout out also to my friend Brittany, who is going to be coming on the podcast very soon, she reads human design, and she was able to tell me right away everything about my little reflector baby and, what the energetics of that look like and how to support him, especially in the early days. I feel like the most important thing about reflectors, who are 1% of the population, is that they reflect their environment. And so their environment is very, very important to them. And so because of that, I feel like as a baby, he was so reflective of me and my physical state, my nervous system state, and Blair's as well. And then the people that we would have in our home, state of our home in general, our environment. And so I think that it was so helpful to have her input in the beginning and to know that. I highly recommend getting a human design reading for your baby if you're a new parent. But yeah, it's just been so fun to watch him grow and experience new things, and to really, as a person, be pushed to my edge. And I don't mean that in a negative way or a bad way. I feel grateful that I get to see how far I've come as a person, both in my ability to regulate, in my ability to feel my emotions and experience them and control my mind and my thoughts. And there's so much less time. And those of you who are parents know this, you have no time for yourself or very little time for yourself. And so you get to see who you really are, because when you don't have all day to meditate and do breath work and do yoga and do all the things to regulate, then you get to see what your nervous system actually does. And I think that's so valuable and so important. And you get to see the amount of work that you have done and all of the healing that you have done and how that has impacted you. I think it becomes glaringly obvious, where your weak points are and where your difficulties lie and what healing you still have left to do. And then also you get to celebrate the places that you have grown. I just feel like it's so clear when you don't have tons of free time and tons of alone time. And that being said, that has been one of the hardest things for me for 35 years of my life. Basically, I have been able to do what I want, when I want, go where I want, when I want to. And for the last year, I haven't been able to do that. And it's a challenge to have to really utilize the time that you have, not procrastinate, especially when you're someone like me who is very ambitious and has a lot of Capricorn energy and wants to build a business and help people and create constantly. Before, I had endless amounts of time to do that and thought that I had no time. And now I have no time to do it, and I have to fit it into the windows that I do have, which from a creative standpoint is really kind of excellent because it doesn't give you time to overthink. You absolutely have to just be inspired when you have the time and just go for it. And from a creative standpoint, I think it actually creates a lot more action than overthinking. So it is kind of nice in that way, but at the same time, it's a challenge to find those moments and not feel like you're getting behind or not feel like you're not living up to your potential. But at the same time, the thing I think I've gotten most from being a mom or learned the most, especially from Owen, because he very much likes to be in my presence and I love to be in his presence. The thing about it is that he has really taken me to a place of acceptance between my ambition and presence. And before, when I had endless amounts of time, it was just ambition and achievement and work on top of work. Not that I was a workaholic, but I just felt like I was always thinking about that. I was always thinking about how can I grow my business? How can I help more people? How can I do the next biggest, best thing and continue to evolve that and make that grow? And that was just what was on my mind constantly. And my own evolution. How can I grow as a person? How can I be even more healed? How can I be even smarter? How can I be even more all of these things? And at first, I felt like I wanted to jump right back into that. And then I realized that that wasn't really possible at all times because Owen needed me and he wanted to be around me and he needed me to not just be around, but to be there and to be present and to be a container for his experience. And I feel like I have learned so much about how important it is to regulate yourself and be present with yourself as a parent in order to be present for your child. And one of my least favorite things that people say all the time to new parents or any parent is, gosh, time flies, just goes so fast. You blink and it's over. You better soak it up while you can. I get that. And at the same time, I think that when you're present, time doesn't fly and you don't have to soak up the fleeting moments. I can't believe he's going to be a year and simultaneously I was there for every single breath, every single moment of his life. And I know that as they get older, there's less of that presence and things get busier and it can probably feel faster, but the reason it feels fast is because you're not present. So something that I have learned is that the more I lean into being present with him, being right there with him, the more I'm getting out of each moment and the more acceptance I have for where we are. And with that, I'm able to, in my moments without him, in my moments of free time, I'm able to do the things that I want to do, build the things I want to build or create with such greater capacity and passion because of that presence and acceptance, both with him and with myself. I also feel like it's brought me to a place of really valuing the human experience and the simplicity of the human experience as well. In the spiritual community as a whole, it tends to be this game of ascension, like how spiritual can you get, like who are you channeling, what beings are coming through, and all of that stuff. And not that that's bad, but it is not really the point of life. All of it's great and it's part of life, but the point of life is to be human. The point of life is to enjoy your humanness, at least part of the point. And I think there are not many experiences that allow you to do that in such a beautiful way. And I think that by really understanding surrender, presence, and acceptance in this season has let me lean into the simplicity of being human and the great things of being human. And also watching Owen become a human for the first time, I mean, probably not his first time, but it's just incredible to watch him experience the small things in life and to remember that that's what this is about, this having a body thing. Like, that's why we have bodies, to feel and to touch and to experience life. So that has been one of my favorite things as well about being a parent. And then there's the mom brain, which just really turns off 90% of the noise. Unfortunately, it makes you forget a lot of things or kind of blank a lot. But at the same time, I feel like it's made me so much more myself. I feel so much more myself than I have felt in a while. I mean, minus the hormones and the moodiness, because I am not so filled up with all of the noise of other people's opinions and their thoughts and their energy. Like, it's like my energy field just blocks it out. There's no space for that. There's no capacity for that in the same way that there was before. And so in a way, it's kind of a gift because I am not so overloaded with everybody's thoughts and opinions and feeling like I have to juggle that, especially as a projector. I'm so excited to have Brittany on here to talk to you guys about human design because I feel like I've been referencing it so much in my work, but I am not an expert on it. I'm only really a slightly knowledgeable on my own energy type and also Owen's, but I'm so excited to have her on here and talk in depth about each type so you all can figure out what you are. And it has helped me immensely to understand like why I am the way that I am and how I interact in the world. Super excited. So I hope you're looking forward to that. So in terms of Superbloom healing, I do feel like it is leveling up. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming up. Again, with the capacity that I have and the time that I have, it's much slower than I would have liked it to be. Some of the growth that is happening in terms of like my ability to produce things for you guys, my ability to create the spaces that I want to create, but it is happening. And the older that Owen gets, the more time I'll have for that. But in the meantime, this year has been a lot of working with you guys one-on-one, which has been so awesome. I've seen just such incredible shifts in so many of my regular clients. And it's really fun to watch people actually change. And I feel like quite a few of my clients have come to me from doing a lot of other work, whether it was with someone or not, spiritual work on their own or with other coaches or healers or whatever, and had felt like they were stagnant or had not really moved the needle much in terms of their healing, at least in terms of it manifesting in their life and integrating into their life. And that's become a big focus of my work this year, is the integration process and what that looks like. So I've opened up some coaching spots for integration, and there will be more of that coming in the future as well. Because really it is not just about the healing experience that you have, whether that's at a conference or a retreat or even just an energy session. Those experiences can be great, but it's about integrating that into your body and into your life. And so many people don't have or haven't had the support that they need to actually implement the things, to integrate the things into their life. And so that's why I opened up these coaching containers for integration, because I just feel like that is what moves the needle. That is the important part. Yes, you need the energy healing. Yes, you need the activations. Yes, you need the inspiration, but that is only showing you what is possible. When you have those big energetic experiences and emotional experiences, again, whether it's at a retreat, a ceremony, or whether it's in a one-on-one session with someone, a Reiki healer or whoever, when you have those big experiences, those emotional releases, you are shown your energetic giftings or capacities. That's only showing you what is possible, but that is not changing your everyday life most times. And that's because there has been no integration of those concepts and the energy around it. And so it's so important to have support for the integration process. And I think life coaches can be great in that way, but not every life coach is energetically aware as well. So I feel like that's a bit of a gap that I've seen in the spiritual industry and something that I've really been enjoying doing this year with people. I also have been, like I said, working on a program for new mothers, and I've been putting a lot of time and energy into that. It was about 2 months, I think, after Owen was born that I really was feeling super inspired about this program. I had actually envisioned this program and several aspects of it 5 years ago because I work with a lot of kids and their parents. And for some kids, the only thing that has helped in certain aspects of life and baby and toddlerhood and childhood have been energetic work and regulation work, both with the baby and the parent. And it actually blows my mind that this hasn't existed before, or I haven't seen it anywhere. And my algorithm hasn't showed me this anywhere, at least online. And so when I dreamed it up 5 years ago, it was really from an outside perspective. It was a perspective of an energy healer that works with kids, but also has never been a parent. And so I felt like I couldn't really talk about it the way I wanted to or I needed to, or that I would be met with that feeling of, well, you just don't understand because you're not a parent. Even though I hadn't had clients say that to me, I think in a larger scale education, there might be that feeling from people. And so I just put it on the back burner and I developed a little bit of it before becoming a mom. But 2 months after Owen was born, I was like, yep, this is how it is. This stuff works. And so anyway, it prompted me to start creating that course even back then. And I'm almost done with it and just really, really excited to get it into your hands, to get it into the hands of people that have babies, young children. And eventually I probably will also do one for older children and teenagers as well, but I'm not really in that phase of life yet. So who knows if it'll come out before then or if it will be something that happens later in life. But all that being said, I'm really excited for that. So please look forward to that. Look forward to more integration and coaching. Of course, there are those of you that are already on my schedule for one-on-one sessions. And if there are some of you that have been thinking about that or considering that, I highly recommend it. I recommend my services, believe it or not. I really do believe in the work that I do. And I have seen people really shift and change in the last year specifically quite a bit. The other thing to look forward to is I'm going to start going live more often for energy healings again. I used to do this a couple years ago before I was pregnant, and I'm going to be doing it again more frequently. So that means following me on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Substack. I think I'm going to do all of them live. I don't actually know if that's possible, but I think I'm going to try in some way to work that out so I can go live at the same time on all of them. So whatever platform you like, you can go live with me. I'm thinking Wednesday nights, but we'll see how it goes. It depends on our childcare and all of that. And that is going to be live energy healing, live biofield tuning, live energy readings, and probably some chats on spirituality and whatever comes up. So if you're interested in that, please join. I think it's such a special space, and I really create a container that is safe for everyone, no matter where you're at or what you're going through. And it's a really great space to get energy healing on a weekly basis as well that can be more affordable for you. So highly recommend putting your notifications on for that. What else? And then lastly, I'm planning on opening up a more long-term mentorship. That won't be probably until 2027, but it is in the works already. So that is exciting as well. Yeah, so I'm just excited to continue to grow with you all and evolve as a healer myself and a person myself along with you. It's so fun to build this community, and I'm hoping to build it out to a place where you really feel supported by one another, because again, I think that is going to be invaluable for where we are headed as a society. I just think community and real interactions with people are the most important thing we can cultivate right now. So, all of that being said, please join the membership if you haven't already. There are drops in there coming back out now after a little hiatus on that. And keep up with me on social media. I'm Superbloom Healing on pretty much every platform, so keep up with me there. Oh, lastly, I wanted to say, if you're a regular client and you've worked with me for a while, I would absolutely love if you would leave me a review. You can leave it on Google, you can leave it on Facebook, or you can leave it here on Spotify. Any of that would be so amazing. Just really helps the algorithm of things, getting it out there so that other people can see it, so that other people can get healing too. And also, if you are a podcast listener and you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review about the podcast on Spotify or YouTube, or I think it's on Apple Podcasts as well. Any of that would be great. It just gets this out to more people so that more people can receive healing and receive what they need and can be part of the community. And that's all we're trying to do here, is just help everybody be the best that they can be and enjoy their life. Okay? I love you all so much. Thank you for just listening to my story today. And it's really fun to get to share that with you guys. And I don't think there's anything else I need to say. I think that's everything. I am so excited to be back. I'm so thankful for you all being here again. If you have ideas for topics you want to talk about, or information you want to know, or just spiritual questions that have been bothering you or that you've been wanting to ask someone, please let me know. DM me, email me, drop it in the comments, because I love answering your questions. There's nothing more that I love than being able to provide you some insight and clarity on things. So please do that. And I think that's it. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. To find all the goodies, book a session, join the membership, or see what's new, head to superbloomhealing.com. I can't wait to support you as you awaken into your truest, most radiant self.